Hey guys, welcome to the Fool's Gold segment. The teams that are fooling you. You think they're looking good on the surface, but once you start digging in, it's fool's gold. They're not going nowhere. They're definitely not making the playoffs. Well, they possibly will make the playoffs, but let's don't say that. But they right now, I think they have a good chance of not making the playoffs. So let's get started. Just a reminder that some teams I put on the Fool's Gold last week did not do good this week. A few losses, like the Chargers, like the Saints. I have Falcons on there too, but they had to play each other, right? So, and the Falcons did not look good beating them. They barely won in some bonehead moves by the Saints. So let's get it started. My Fool's Gold list after week 4. All right, a team that a lot of people might think is surprising, but I believe the Seahawks are a little bit of fool gold. They're fullness a little bit here. They lose to the Lions by almost 2 touchdowns. And the teams they've only defeated are the Broncos, Patriots, and Dolphins. Broncos are terrible. I don't care if they have 2 wins. And the Patriots and Dolphins, well, they're looking like they might be fighting for a top 5 pick in this year's coming draft. So Geno looks good, but Geno, he'll throw a touchdown, he'll give you a pick. Yeah, he leads the league in passing yards, but that's not so great. Everybody was bragging about their vaunted defense, the ball hawking defense. Now, I know they're banged up on the defensive line playing the Lions, but what happened to that secondary? Goff was 18 for 18. The guy didn't have one incompletion, and there were some guys just wide open. The play action was killing them. The running backs did great, Gibbs and Montgomery. So where's this vaunted defense? I know the D-line is hurt, but there's a lot of teams in the NFL that are hurt. So don't be surprised if the Seattle start coming down to earth just a little bit. They have the Giants, which they should win, but then they have a tough test against the 49ers, and after the 49ers, it's the Falcons and Bills. So I think the Bills and 49ers will really test the Seattle Seahawks, and we'll see if they're actually real gold or fool's gold. But don't buy in on the Seattle Seahawks just yet. They have to prove that they can hang with the big dogs, because they tried it with the Lions, and the Lions trounced them. So the Seattle Seahawks, right now, they got some of that fool's gold on them, so be careful. And when I did this segment last time, I had this team on there, and they're still, I believe, in the fool's gold category, and that's the Chargers. I have the Chargers on here because a lot of people were hyping them up because of Jim Harbaugh, the great Jim Harbaugh. Oh, he can't do no wrong. Just forgetting his scandal in Michigan. Colin Cowherd just loves the guy, wants to make out with him. He thinks, so does Phil Simms. They love this head coach. What's so love about this team? The 2 teams they beat were the Raiders and Panthers. 2 terrible teams. That's when Panthers had Young out there playing quarterback. What's so good about the Chargers being those 2 teams? They lose by 10 points to the Steelers. To their credit, they're leading the Kansas City Chiefs. They lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, but they kept it really competitive to the 4th quarter. But they only scored 10 points in the first quarter and never scored a point after that. Yes, they were banged up. A lot of teams in the NFL are banged up right now. They have no passing game. It's Quinn Johnson and the guy they drafted out of Georgia, McConkey. But that's it. The running game, that's all they have is Gus Edwards is shot. The guy looks terrible. And so it's just Dobbins. That's it. And you're expecting this team to go somewhere? I think Colin had them as a secret playoff team. I'm not seeing it. They're 2-2. Their number 1 left tackle is hurt, Joe Alt. So no, they're fool's gold. Don't buy into it. All they can do is run the ball right now and dink and dunk with Quinn Johnson and their other guy. But that's it. They will be a middle-of-the-road team. They're not making the playoffs. Sorry, Colin Cowherd. Stop praising Jim Harbaugh. Give him a year or 2 to build this franchise up. But no, they're not making the playoffs. They are fool's gold. All right, a new team that made this list with a goofball as a quarterback, the Jets. Jets, Jets. They make this category. What can you say about the Jets? They lost one of the worst pathetic games I've ever seen. They lost to a team with a quarterback who only had 60 yards passing and -7 yards in the halftime before that game ended. They lost to the Broncos 10-9. I don't care that it was raining. They could have used the Brees Hall and Bew Allen a little bit more, but they didn't. So don't like anybody outside of Wilson. Lazard, he's average, so, I'm not liking anything outside of Garrett Wilson. And Aaron Rodgers, he's shaking the rust off. He's not doing too bad. 850 yards passing, only 5 TDs. Breece Hall, the running game is not looking like they're picking up. Breece Hall only has 174 yards rushing, so the rushing game is something left to be desired there. And Lazard leads them in receiving yards with 206 when you have Garrett Wilson. I don't know what the hell's going on there. They beat the Patriots. They beat the Titans. Whippity-doo. Patriots and Titans are some of the worst teams in the NFL. Both those teams will be in the top 10 in the draft. And they lose to the 49ers. They lose by a blowout, 32-19. Sorry. So the only good team they played, they lost to, and they got demolished by the 49ers. And they lost to the Broncos, one of the worst teams in the league. Because of them losing to the Broncos embarrassingly and losing in a blowout to the only good team they played, and how offensively they don't look too good. Their defense is not as dominant as it was, I think, last year. They're fooling you, everybody. Don't jump on the Jets train. That's the Bills' division to win. They might get in a wild card because how terrible that division is. But no, I see the Jets missing the playoffs. Breece Hall's not looking so great. Lazard's leading him in receiving. So no, I bet money that they have a good, decent record, but they missed the playoffs. So don't, because they're fooling you. And these other two teams, I didn't know either to put them on the list, the Fool's Gold list, or just have them there in the middle teams in the NFL. So they're not good enough to be in the power rankings, but they're not so bad or not fooling us enough to be on the Fool's Gold list. And that's the Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles, and the Houston Texans. Texans being on the power rankings. Texans just haven't played no one. And the teams they've beaten, they've won, right? But the teams that are going to be there, the playoff teams, which they played against the Vikings, they got blown out. So, and Stroud is, he's not looking like so dynamic. He's still good, don't get me wrong, but I was expecting a little bit more. Nico Collins is really great. Tank Dell is not having so much of a good year like he was having last year. Tank Dell and Mixon's hurt, and they look like they're really struggling. They're struggling without Mixon. They barely beat the Jaguars. I mean, they had a fourth quarter touchdown to win. So I think there's a chance the Texans can lose. They play the Buffalo Bills coming up. So if they lose to the Bills, there's a good chance the Texans gets on this Fool's Gold list. And maybe we'll see if they, we'll see. We'll just have to see. It's going to be a good game against the Bills. And the Eagles, they're so inconsistent. I don't know what to do with them. They have a very top offense. They have one of the best running backs in Barkley, who's probably a top 10 MVP candidate. They beat the Packers. They dropped 30 on them. Then they beat the Saints when the Saints were rolling on people, dropping 40 points each. They blew the game on Falcons. They should be 3-1. They blew the game with the Falcons. They let bad coaching decisions. They let the Falcons get a last-minute touchdowns. I don't have to explain that to you guys. And then they get their doors blown off by the Buccaneers. They have a great offense, but they got to put it together, and they got to get healthy. A.J. Brown and Smith and the right tackle, Lane Johnson, when they're all together, it's really great. But their defense, Slay, is average or below average right now. The slot corner is garbage. Maddox, he needs to be replaced by the guy that we drafted in Cooper DeJean. So these things need to happen, and they need to trade for some pass rushing help because we have a 36-year-old DN as our best DN. So they have all these problems in the defense. They got to put it together. Even the offense, they got to get Jalen Hurts stop turning the ball over, get it through your head, and they need to turn to a rushing offense. So they do all of those things because they have so much talent on one team. I believe they could be a really great team, but they're not doing that right now so far. So that's why I have them in between the Fool's Gold list and the power rankings. So we'll see Houston Texans and Eagles right there in the middle of join the Fool's Gold list or join the power rankings. The Texans being the power rankings already, but I could see them falling out if they get blown out by the Bills. So we'll see. So guys, that is my Fool's Gold list. The Seahawks, Chargers, and Jets. And I also want to throw on there, I was right about the Saints. And the Saints, I believe, are still on the Fool's Gold list with the Atlanta Falcons. So throw in the Falcons and the Saints. And you can watch my previous video of why I picked them in the Fool's Gold list. And my honorable mentions who could possibly be in the Fool's Gold list later after a couple weeks. The Houston Texans and the Philadelphia Eagles. My Philadelphia Eagles. So I hope you guys enjoy this segment about the Fool's Gold segment. I think it's really fun. You know, you get to see teams that look like they're doing good, but they're probably not going to be there in the end. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Please tell me if you do or you don't, and I love to hear recommendations. I love doing this. And if you guys get any enjoyment out of it, it makes me happy. So with that, tune in later this week, towards late week, for my week 5 predictions. I like to do a little later to see where the injury reports are and see the betting lines. But tune in for my week 5 predictions and my MLBs coming up during the playoffs. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.